Good afternoon. Today we're going to work on glass plate flowers. And I want you first to collect all of the items that you're going to need to do this project. So we're going to start out with our plates, bowls, votive, or any other thing that you're going to use. Something to go in the center of your votive, and maybe some sort of small decorative beads or glass items. All of these items should have been washed ahead of time, and before we actually start assembling them, we are going to use some rubbing alcohol. So I have a few of these little like cosmetic cotton rounds, and I'm going to douse them with rubbing alcohol and wipe off all the surfaces where things are going to be adhered, because you want it just as clean as possible. So I'm rubbing the inside of my largest plate. Then I'm going to rub the high point of the plate or bowl that's going inside of that, so it also is cleaned off. These only need to dry for just a couple of seconds. Doesn't take long, but it just helps to remove all the oils from hands that have been handling these items. So that little bowl is done. The bottom of this votive I'm cleaning off. I'm going to put kind of an elegant door knob that I've taken apart and put that in the center. And then I'm going to put a bead on top of that. So I've rubbed all of these with rubbing alcohol just so that they will adhere. And it's amazing, with having done that, just how dirty this got. The other things that you're going to need are goop. This is automotive adhesive and E6000. These are the two glues that we're going to use. And then the other thing that I purchased were hockey pucks, and a friend drilled holes in them, 3/8 inch holes in them, to accommodate the rebar. So I'm going to wipe off the hockey puck as well, because that is going to be the last thing that we glue on. But yes, oh my, look at how dirty. Okay, I'm just going to set that aside for a little bit while we assemble the rest of this. And it's pretty fast once you get to the assembly. You know, shopping for all your items is the biggest time-consuming part of this project. So the bottom of this is dry, and doesn't matter which one you put on first. It can be the E6000 or the goop. You put it on the high point of the plate or bowl that you're adhering, and you just put, it's not a very big layer, it's just, you know, I kind of just set down the tube, the top of the tube, and I press as I move around the plate and spread it. Okay. So that's the first one. The goop is on. Now, while the goop is still there, I'm going to add a layer of the E6000. And this is not a heavy, it's not a heavy layer, but it's just enough to mix with the goop so that in the summer heat, the two adhesives will work together to keep these from sliding around. If you just use one of them, in more moderate temperatures, you could probably just get away with using the E6000 or some other type of silicone. But in the desert of California, you're going to want to have both of them. So I put a layer around of both of them. Now you can see on the high spot of the plate, and I'm going to center it over the larger plate. And then I'm just going to press it into place. And I repeat that same step, these same steps with the other pieces. So now I'm going on to the next little, like a candy dish or nut dish that I have selected, and I'm gluing the high point on the bottom of it with the goop, and then the E6000. And you can let them set for just a minute between the time that you put the glue on and you adhere it to the other plates. But I really don't think it matters too much how long you take to do that. Now I'm going to center this in this other plate. And press it into place. And I can hear the air bubbles coming out when I press down on it. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the votive. Like I said, this comes together pretty fast once you start gluing. Got the goop on it, and then the E6000. All the way around. And then I'm going to put that in the center of this. And I can hear the air bubbles moving out of that as well. The last piece is going to be my little center. That I'm putting in the votive. And I've got the E6000, and now to add on top of the goop. But like I said, you could start with E6000 and add the goop to the E6000. Either way, it doesn't matter, just so long as you use both of them. Okay. And that is all centered. And the last thing I'm going to do is add a little blue gem to the center of that old-fashioned drawer pull, and I put just a dot of each glue on it, and then I'm going to put it in the center there. Okay, and I decided to, since this is a pretty simple plate, to embellish it with alternating colors of blue and red in the spaces that don't have a floral print. So I'll show you in just a minute what that looks like after I get them glued together. Whoops, there we go. You might notice that during this process, some of the pieces might slide around a little bit because of the glue that you have, the amount of glue that you have on these. So just be careful and watch it for 20 minutes, half hour, just to see if it's sliding around much, and just reposition it to your liking to make sure everything stays centered the way you want it. Okay, go with that. And I've got one more to put on here. After you get done gluing all your pieces together and you watch it for that 20 to 30 minutes to make sure it's not sliding around too much, you let it set up for 48 to 72 hours to make sure that all the glue has dried. That's kind of a long period, but you don't want them to fall off, so it's better to just let them stand. And you can see now at the bottom of this where I glued those little gems that highlight. Whoops. Okay, I shouldn't have picked that up at that point, probably. So my plate slid off. Anyhow, the gems will set up too. And after the 48 to 72 hours of your plate setting up, you just repeat the process with your puck. You put goop and E6000 on your puck, and then you put it on the back of your plate. But before you put it on the back of your plate, be sure to insert your rebar into this hole. It'll be a tight fit. You don't need to glue it. Once you get the rebar started in this, you might pound it on the ground. Just pound the rebar with this so that it keeps going in deeper and deeper into the hole. And then it's ready to glue on. Same thing, let it set up for 48 to 72 hours. And voila, you have a plate flower. Hope you enjoyed it.